Hello!
Hello!
And welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of
The Whatever Show.
So, last episode, we talked about stereotypes, kind of hit on them with some storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that today's big question is kind of set up in more of like almost a debate style.
Almost a debate, yeah.
So, Davis, what is today's big life question?
Today's big life question. Should you be a student or be a worker? That's what we're going to answer.
Or be a student with a job.
Well, that's what I meant.
Okay.
Be a full-time student or a half-time student with a job.
All right. Well, I would just like to put in perspective where both Davis and I fit in this category. So, Davis is a full-time student.
Full-time student.
He has a job that he kind of really doesn't really go to very consistently at all.
Well, that just sounds like I don't go to work. So, to shed some light on what's going on here, I have a job, but it's only once a month. So, I work at my cousin's art gallery, which is a cool job, and it's really neat.
But he doesn't go there often.
But they only have gallery openings once a month, so it's not really a job that is really consistent. It's more whenever it comes. So that's what I do. And then all of my time I'm able to devote to being at school and doing other things, and I don't have to worry about working because it's only that one day a month. Caleb, on the other hand, Caleb, would you like to tell us about your circumstances?
Well, I usually hold about 2 part-time jobs at once and also do full-time school stuff. So that may sound pretty crazy, but it's it was originally, I will definitely say that, but it definitely has, I've gotten into a groove, I kind of want to say. So it kind of makes a lot more sense to me now, scheduling-wise at least. But I work, like we said before, I work at a pizza place. I now work there on Mondays and Fridays. And then at the peak of my, before, coronavirus stuff.
Yeah, coronavirus.
I know, demonetized.
Demonetized.
But seriously, I was working at an office at a college that I attend as well. So I was working at both of those places at the same time, also taking full-time classes and, still had time for theater and tennis as well. So I guess we should have some opening statements. Davis, let's hear this no job opening statement.
Okay, well, before we hop into that, I do want to say one quick disclaimer. So this video is not going to work if you don't understand that, yes, some people don't get a choice. A lot of people don't get a choice in where they fall on this. I was lucky enough to get a choice. Caleb was one of the people who was not able to get a choice. But for this episode, for the premise of it, we're going to
just assume that both of us have this option.
We're going to be talking in the sense that there is this major what if where everybody who's listening, you viewers, us, everyone who is listening to this has the choice to either go full job or no job.
Yeah.
And so we're going to weigh the options, and that's the lens you have to look at this from, is that everybody has a choice, because we know in reality most people don't.
Not not very many.
Right. So, with that in place, we'll begin our pros and our cons.
Alrighty, let's hear them.
Alright, so for no job, the biggest thing to me that if you do not have a job while you're in school is that it leaves room for social development. This is the biggest reason, the biggest home hitter. So, and what do I mean by that? Social development, all I mean by that is meeting friends, developing those social skills, having a great network around you to support you and to really be there for you when you're about to go through these really challenging times of shifting from high school to college, or maybe you're even in college and you're graduating college and you're really gonna need those friends with you to help you transition. And so that's what I mean by social development. And the biggest reason that waiting to get a job until you're out of school, and like we said, you have to understand this is a what if. It's not usually an option for most people. But the biggest reason you would want to avoid that is so that you could focus on your social development. So, Caleb, what would you say the biggest pro for having a job in school would be?
Okay. I think that the biggest pro for going for a job and doing school at the same time is you're really putting yourself in a situation where you're almost forced to mature. So when I say that, I mean you're giving yourself more responsibilities and therefore making yourself a more responsible person. So I think that will help. And like the earlier you do it, the more you start working on that responsibility, the more that you can get done, and the more like productive that you'll actually be whenever it comes to, you know, your future jobs down the line, or, you know, your education. Because I mean, you'll be more responsible. You'll be like, okay, well, I know that I have to go to work at, you know, this time, so I might as well, instead of procrastinating, say, you know what, forget it, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to, so I can get it done.
One thing though, since this is sort of a debate setting, I am going to jump in right here.
Okay, that's fine.
One of your points was that it builds time management skills. I would argue that if you're having to go to school every morning at a certain time, and you're having to be on time, and class changes have to be on time, you're already getting pretty decent time management skills just from being at school.
Well, Davis, I have to ask you a personal experience question.
Okay.
So how has that helped your procrastination?
All right. I guess. All right. So for those of you who don't know me personally,
Davis is a very serious procrastinator.
He's
wonderful. Like an Olympic gold medalist.
I'm an Olympic gold medalist procrastinator.
He'd rather eat bark off of a tree than do it.
I would rather like chew the fluff off of my blanket than go upstairs and make breakfast in the morning. That's a little extreme, but you know.
But that's, I mean, look, it's not even schoolwork at this point. It's everything. Man, the school system. Obviously, they didn't help you, huh?
Some people, it's just
I'm
in their
just messing
nature.
around.
But, okay, I guess that's a good point.
So I guess while we're doing the little interjection things, you're saying that it helps your like social life while you're going through all those circumstances. I would also argue that having a job is a very good environment to meet people as well. Not only that, but you kind of, I'm gonna take your point and build on one of mine. It also works on getting kind of like these seeds of independence planted in your life the earlier that you do it, because I mean, you don't have to depend on others as much. So it's like, oh yeah, you know what, I want to, you know, go out to eat. Then, you know, you have the opportunity to go and do that out of your own accord, instead of being like, hey parent, can you please give me some money? You know what I mean? Or like just like one of those scenarios. So I think that with like, you know, you add in the social complex, and then because of all the people that you meet, which for like, because I mean, it's not like the same people every single shift,
right?
You know what I mean? So you're going to meet new people, you're going to learn new people, and I also think that that's going to help you kind of like find yourself more as a person, because there's no one like, there's not like a school system forcing you into the same place every single day, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or like forcing you into groups, like, you know, let's just say like the gifted classes, or, you know, tennis, so you always have to be around those people.
Yeah.
So that's why I think you get the good social experience, but you also get that kind of that little bit of independence starting to grow, because of, I mean, there's no one there but you.
Right.
So that's what I think, at least.
Wait a minute. There's no one there but you.
I mean, like, there's no one, like, I guess you could technically be introduced to the people or whatever, but like beyond that, it's up to you to make those connections and all of that stuff, because you're not like constantly going to be in the same place as that person the whole time, or, you know, they'll take days off, or, you know, they'll switch shifts and that kind of stuff. So it kind of forces you to be like more of a go-getter with your friends, and less of like a backseater where it's like, oh yeah, we just happen to be in the same place, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Well, here's my thing. What you said made sense. You do meet people in the workplace, and it does absolutely build independence and character. That I completely agree with. Having a job absolutely builds independence and character. The thing that I'm less agreeing with you
Okay.
is whenever you hear people like, let's say, does this sound familiar? I remember back in the good old days when I was in high school with my buddies and we would go and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard someone say, I remember back in the good old days when I was at my part-time job and I met all my friends that I have?
Well, I mean, that kind of leads into something else, I think. I think it's like, our friends really, are all of your friends going to be forever friends, or are they just going to be temporary?
Not.
You know what I mean? Because you can look back on those memories and, glorify your high school days. But at the same time, for some people, they may not have that choice to just go hang out. Their form of hanging out with their friends is going to work. You know what I mean?
Well, right. But again,
so maybe they do look up to that, and they're like, oh man, I remember when I worked here, and every single, insert, for me, it would be every Friday night I go and I hang out with, my crew.
And you can absolutely have times that you remember being at your job and you had great memories, or you actually had a good time at your job. That, of course, happens all the time. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I saw a quote the other day, and it said, wouldn't it be nice if you knew you were in the good times before you left them?
Yeah.
Newsflash, if you're in high school, you're in the good times right now. Solve that quote, problem solved. So if you,
I don't know about that, to be completely honest.
In the eyes of most people,
yes.
If you're in high school, you're in the good times. Of course, that doesn't apply for everybody, but generally.
I know, I didn't even make it in the yearbook.
That's another story for another day, but generally, your high school years are viewed as the good times. And so, the point I'm trying to make, the reason they're good times is not usually, I'm going to say usually here, typically it's not because of your job. You don't remember how great your high school years were because of the job that you worked in high school. That's not most people.
Yeah.
The things you remember are the times you spent with your friends, the social activities that you had, the great memories where you guys were together and you were eating dinner after going out to compete in a game, or you're at that theater event and you had just finished acting or whatever your school thing is. Those are the memories that come to mind, and most of the time it's not going to be that job.
Yeah.
And so those memories that are so valuable to so many people, I mean, how many people have you heard, I wish I could go back to the good old days? I mean, a lot of people say that. And that tells you that these are valuable times. And so the biggest advantage of not working right now is that those valuable times that only come once in your life, that everybody respects so much and looks back to, you get more time to devote to this little window that you have.
Okay.
These, quote, golden times. You can devote more of your energy into actually living those out, Because you're going to have your whole life to work.
Exactly.
But you only have this one time,
Okay, so I think that this brings up a really significant point and what you're trying to do in your, high school career and onward. Are you trying to play the now game, or are you trying to play the late game? So, I am not 100% sure, crystal clear what game you were playing. But for me, I am playing late game all day long. Because, like I've stated previously, I'm doing dual enrollment. I have the opportunity to get my associate's degree by the time that I am graduating high school. So I'll be a senior and I'll already be a junior in college. So it's it's very significant. As far as where I want to be education-wise, I want to, get 2 bachelor's degrees. And since that's the case, I'm already practically speaking, 1/3 to where I want to be.
Right.
So it's just I think that since I'm playing, in my scenario, the late game, I'm trying to, reduce my costs later, maybe so I can put more money towards, things that I like in the future, or, and that kind of stuff, because I know that debt is going to be something that will most likely happen just because of the cost of, colleges and
right.
stuff. But I think that, it really depends on what game you're playing. If you're playing late game in your life, if you're trying to go for that, because obviously live in the moment, but at the same time, you can do things to prepare yourself for your future, which is what I really admired and like to do for myself. So, like, where do you fit into the now game / late game kind of thing?
Me personally, I am very much more of a live in the now type guy. Caleb and I are different in that way. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
I think it makes things interesting.
It does,
sure.
It does. And it provides different perspectives on different topics. But for all of you viewers out there who are now people, I'm also a now person. And I do take steps towards my future, but not as drastically as Caleb does.
Yeah.
So at my job, I do know that the job I work right now is definitely going to help me in the future. And, a lot of people say your first part-time job, or even if it's a full-time job, your first job is really important.
It builds on that work experience.
Right, it builds your work experience. So I definitely do know that my job at the art gallery will help me in the future. But that's not why I took it necessarily. I didn't get that job so that I would be prepared for the future. That's just one effect that's coming with it, because
kind of like a byproduct almost.
Yeah, it's almost like a convenient byproduct, because that's not the reason why I went out and got it. Caleb, though, on the other hand, you're a different story. And, like, would you like to elaborate on that?
So, I mean, I started this pizza place as soon as I got a car. For my situation, which is probably similar to some people's, I have to pay insurance on my car. I have to pay for gas for my car, which is completely fine. I, am fortunate enough to, my future graduation present is going to be the car that I'm driving right now. So I'm just taking care of it until that meantime where it is my gift, right? So since that's the case, I am, extremely appreciative, but I still do have to pay my insurance and pay for my gas. So, it was really a need for me to go ahead and move into some sort of job as quickly as I could, and I started as a dish boy at a pizza place. I've been at the same pizza place for over a year now. I know how to throw out the pizzas, because I moved up, hypothetically speaking, through the pizza chain of command,
right,
or whatever. It's not like I'm like a manager or really anyone important, but I pull the pizzas out of the oven. I know how to do that pretty great, and I also know how to throw out the pizzas, so like tossing the dough in the air and all of that stuff. So I know how to work about half of the positions in the restaurant, which is it's pretty good. But I used that experience, and I even went and got an office job at the college that I'm attending right now, which is super cool.
By the way, congratulations. I know you're super excited about that.
Yeah, the only thing that stinks is I can't do it right now because of corona stuff.
Demonetized!
Yeah, I know, again. But it's like, I was able to use that job experience at the pizza place, and since I've been employed there for over a year, they were like, okay, this guy's just not going to up and leave in, a matter of seconds. So it kind of helped me in the sense that I was able to progress job-wise and get a job that had more flexible hours, was more lenient about breaks, and also had some, the flexible hours was something that was very important to me, because I like to do the extracurriculars,
right, yeah,
and things like that.
Both have extracurricular stuff we do. Most of us stuff we do together.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So sure. I just feel like my first job, like you were saying earlier, really helped me to move on to my second job. But I do recognize that people that are going for no job have less stress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that is definitely one point. I'm glad you brought that up. Having less stress obviously is something that most of us want. I don't think I've ever really met anyone who's like, I wish I had just more stress in my life.
Yeah.
But, you do bring up a good point, and then in a minute here, I'll bring up another thing I thought about while you're talking for pro-job. But while we're talking about this less stress, that actually leads to a healthier lifestyle in general. And, there's all kinds of science behind that. These brain scientists say that stress releases all these harmful chemicals. It can make you gain weight. It can, throw everything out of whack. So anytime you can avoid stress, that isn't a bad thing.
Yeah. And I would say what I'm doing right now is a very, I can't think of anything better. A delicate dance with the devil, almost, because it's like
I mean, you're balancing a lot of strings right now.
It's like definitely doing a whole bunch of just like back and forth, because whenever you're working those two jobs and you're also doing, you know, full-time schedule for college classes, it ends up being definitely a lot.
Right.
So you just like, whatever your situation looks like with your job, I mean, you could be taking a lot more hours than I am, for sure, because I, you know, am taking, I would say it's like, I don't know, it's pretty minimal, I would say, but it's enough still.
Right.
So it's very difficult it's like difficult to get it right, but I think that once you've gotten it right.
It's a hard balance, but
once you've gotten that balance, though,
you're
definitely
sailing.
You're sailing through the rest of it.
So that's one thing I will say about your experience and your journey, about the lifestyle that you have chosen to live and in some ways were forced to live, is you really have gotten your toes into a wide variety
of waters.
That's a good metaphor. But you've really dipped your toes into all kinds of waters. And even though that has put more stress on your life, and it has taken away from some of the social things that you could have done otherwise, that I've gotten lucky enough to participate in,
like
and I've
FFA,
had the privilege. Right.
Which is like farmer club, basically.
Oh, yeah. So for those of you who don't know, we talked about FFA in the last episode. If you have never heard of that, because, you know, we're from rural Farmerville. So
exactly.
It's basically farm club. But getting back to the point, you have gotten a wide variety of experiences, which is one thing that was going to be my last little tidbit for the pro job, was it really does help you get that wide variety of skills. And that is something that will absolutely help you in the future. So, you know, I think there's definitely some merit to be had there.
Well, I appreciate that, for sure. But, like I said, totally, less stress route is totally
less stress
no
route
job.
is absolutely the no job route. So,
but, I mean, I think that we're at a good place right now. I think that both sides, I mean, if you're able to choose, they both have a lot to them. It really depends on what your personal values are and the things that you want to accomplish with your time, really.
And again, you have to view this through a perfect world lens. We know, obviously,
not everyone can choose
have the choice. In fact, a lot of people can't have the choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm an instance where I have a lot more choice, but even I have a part-time job that I do. So it's not something
very, very.
It is a very part-time job, but I still do have a job.
Yes.
And I'm lucky in the sense that I haven't had to get a larger job, and I've actually had the choice. I've been given the choice if that's something that I want to do or not. But my mom, like me, is another person who really believes in the social aspect of growing and developing in these times.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that she's really pushed on me and that I've kind of inherited as one of my own viewpoints. Okay. But, you know, like you said, I think we're at a good wrapping place. Yeah. We've presented the pros and the cons of each side.
It's up to you to make the choice.
Yeah,
really.
And we're gonna. So
if you can,
if you can, we have presented you with the facts. That's what we're here for. We are presenting you with our opinions, with the facts that we use to support those opinions, with our own personal circumstances, and with all that, we want you to be able to take that and do with it what you will.
Yeah. So I think in this episode, we presented the big life question, and I think that we really made it up to the viewer which one they think is correct.
That's not going to be our structure for all of the episodes, but for this one in particular.
Yeah, there's some of them that you can't really make a definitive answer on.
In ones like this, I don't really think that there is a right answer, because both sides have such compelling evidence and arguments behind them.
Yeah.
So it really boils down to which one you respect more. Do you value social life more, or do you value those job skills and preparing for your future and having that experience? And it all comes down to you personally and which one of those two you put more value on.
Exactly. Well, we hope that you guys enjoyed. go, stay hydrated, get a glass
Stay
of water,
hydrated.
go on a walk or
Go
something.
on a walk.
We will see you guys next Monday, and if you missed any of our previous episodes, there should be a playlist on the bottom left-hand side of the screen.
You can go back, check out episodes 1 and 2,
Exactly.
get to know us, get our first Q&A in the second episode.
And yeah, just figure it out. You guys have a good one, and we will talk to you soon. See
All
you
right.
on Monday.
Enjoy.
Goodbye.